In the midst of a 10-bagger stock run, a retiring CFO at Manganese X Energy, MN.V, decided to exercise his options and sell his stake in the company, spooking investors and other insiders. CEO Martin Kepman, who hasn't sold a share, reached out to sit down with Equity.Guru's Parry and explain the jam he found his company in, his plan to maintain transparency with the market, and what Tesla's battery day ultimately meant to the battery metals explorer.
So in front of me here on the way we do interviews now on Zoom is Martin Kepman, CEO of Manganese X, which is MN on your tickers. Martin, we were just talking off camera. We go back a little bit. You were one of the first clients of Equity.Guru back in the day. I remember when we first started this thing, it was the difficult pitch was, hey, I'm going to kick your ass occasionally, but it's going to be good for you. And you were one of the first guys that came on and said, all right, I'm ready for that. I got nothing to hide. So here we are, 4 or 5 years later, and you've gone on a bit of a run. You've been working hard on Manganese X for a long time. I think Battery Day kind of came along and gave everyone a little bit of a reason to have another look at you. But certainly the stock went on a bit of a tear. And then, as sometimes happens in the small cap space, some of your guys turned into weak hands. And started selling on their, let's say, cheaper stock. That's got to hit you between the eyes a little bit when you're in the middle of a run, hey?
Well, hitting us, it's a very interesting part because the stock made sense to $1.10 in a very rapid space. And, we have some tremendous investors in Germany, especially in Europe, which hold, I would say, about 50-60% of the stock. And they really believed in us. And look, people had to take some profit taking. They've been waiting 4.5 years to hit this pinnacle. And I don't mind the profit taking, but we had a situation, unfortunately, with our CFO that sort of really hurt the milieu of investors. And I would like to discuss that because sure. I felt that's when things sort of fell apart a little bit. And our CFO, his name is Jacques Arsenault, who I worked with tremendously with over the 4.5 years, as Manganese X. And I'll just give you a little history. We took over this company, it was called Sunset Coal Mining Corp, okay? And it was on a halt trading order, and Jacques was the CFO there. And Jacques had invested large amounts of money into Sunset Coal. And when it went halt trading, temporary halt trading, he was left holding the bag with the money. And we issued him shares to pay for the debt. And another thing is, when we were raising money again, he put in a fair amount of money into our stock, okay? I have tremendous, we worked tremendously together. And then I found out what happened was, I found out on Sunday that he had sold 700,000 shares without telling us, And look, it's a free world and he is going to retire right now. He's 64. He's been in the business and the grind for 25, 30 years. He's experienced a lot of companies that failed. And we were an exception, and we were really thriving and doing well. So he decided that he would sell his shares and retire. And he did, And it was sort of like a slap in our face, but I can't blame him for what he did. And I only wish him the best of luck. And as they say in show business, the beat goes on.
I think selling your shares is one thing. Usually there are conversations that are had with the company in advance. Hey, I've got to get out of my position here. Can you find a cross? I think the short selling was what really pissed people off. Because, it's legal, but, it's your company. You've got your guys in there. It's a hard thing to go and short everyone you've been working with.
Okay, I just want to clarify something if you don't mind.
Sure,
okay?
Yeah.
I'll give you a fast story. I was walking, I'm a walker, and I'm walking at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And I get all these texts from Germany and everywhere saying, what did your CFO do? He shorted your stock.
Yeah.
And I called him at 8:30 in the morning, and I said, Jacques, what went on? And because he's French-Canadian, he misread the seeding rule, okay? And he didn't short it. So he modified it Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, and he did definitely not short it.
Oh, okay.
This is against regulatory conditions anyway,
right.
But the damage was done already.
Right.
Okay, Chris? And he really apologized. He didn't mean to hurt us that way. And I just wanted to clarify that situation.
Well, that's a good thing to clarify, because the SETI documents, obviously, if that's the case, they've been filed incorrectly, and it actually makes sense because right after that there's another notice for the exact same amount of shares, just as a straight sale. So you've got a situation.
That was done on a Sunday, incidentally, because I won't forget that Sunday in many.
It'll live on in history. Okay, so that sucks, but it happens in the junior stock market. Like it's your job as CEO is you serve at the pleasure of the board. The board sometimes has their own motivations. They don't work necessarily as a unit all the time, especially when you've got a stock that's gone from, what was it, 15 cents to $1.40. From 8 cents to $1.40, and you were 8 cents for a long time. Like there was no oxygen in your sector for quite a while, and then suddenly you've gone up in multiples. If we take away the big spike to $1.14 and then back down again, you're still moving up. You're from 8 cents to the end of the spike came down to about 33 cents. You're back up to about 42 now. So if we take out Jacques' retirement plan, do you think that this actually still looks good if you can get past that little heart attack spike?
Absolutely. I feel more confident now than ever because, as I said to you before, I really believe that our stock was really underpriced and undervalued. Okay, and basically we're the only North American company now heading towards commercialization, right? And I just want to say one more thing. I can't say we had a tremendous meeting last Thursday with a very large corporation in Quebec, okay, and also a very large investment government agency in Quebec last week, and they were very, very impressed that we achieved 99.95% purity for an MnSO4 manganese sulfate. Manganese sulfate, and which is EV compliant, okay? And the whole key is the contaminants on that are very, very low. And they said they haven't seen that many companies achieve that. So we were very, very gratified to hear that. So we're doing a lot of good stuff. We're, as announced 3-4 weeks ago, we're starting a drill program immediately, and then going into 42-101, and then definitely we're going to go into PEA, and we're ready to rock and roll. So,
just to play devil's advocate just a little bit longer, I'll let you swivel off the hook in a bit, but so Jacques was obviously the most egregious seller, but you've had some other directors out there that were also taking some profits during that spike.
Let me just bring out something, sorry.
Yep.
The directors aren't getting paid.
Yep.
Okay, they're not getting paid. The vice president of exploration, Roger Dodd, is, but our other directors weren't. And that was their incentive to be a director, that you could exercise your options. And they weren't big amounts of options anyway.
True. Yep.
So it was they're entitled to make a little bit of money also after being on the board for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was relevant at all.
Well, I mean, from the shareholders' perspective, like they don't like to see any cashing out, right? Like if what you're sitting on is undervalued, if you're moving forward to a place where you're going to build some real growth in this company, hey, sometimes you got to buy Timmy a Christmas present. Everyone understands that, but when it's kind of all coming in on the back of a big spike, you've been around the block, that the optics on that aren't necessarily great. And it leads to the question of, now that you've found the base again, now that things are starting to pick up, are your directors strong hands, or are they likely to cash out again at some point in the future?
Well, I know how many options. There's not that many options remaining for the directors anyway.
Okay.
You know, there's maybe 100. Roger exercised 50,000, which was not a very big deal. Dr. Luisa Moreno exercised 100,000. Anthony Bielli, I think, or 100 or 120. And so did Anthony Bielli. These are our directors, okay? Mm-hmm. So for me, that's not a very large quantity, and they didn't cash out and become rich, you know? So we've got to live and let live, and it's a free world, and we don't mind because all these people, and I think Jay Richardson also, who's our CFO now, but they all have contributed beyond the call of justice and helped us. And what they've made is much less than what they contributed.
Do you think it's with Jacques selling as he was selling that maybe there was a little bit of panic that the price was going to go down, you know, a lot further?
To be transparent, it wasn't a very good site. It
wasn't a good weekend.
Yeah, I have to say that being transparent, that, you know, when your CFO sells out like that, and it wasn't done in orderly fashion, it of course would show the investors, hey, if your CFO has no confidence in the stock in the company, what are they going to do? But I haven't sold one share, and I'll tell you something, we have major investors in Germany holding millions of shares, that they're still there. So that's the confidence I can actually bring on and say they still have a lot of confidence.
I will say this, you know, with your share price chart, you know, that week was a big up and a big down, and generally people look at that and say, oh, well, pump and dump. But in the week since, there's been a lot of buying. And despite the fact that you had that stigma attached, you had questions about things, you had Jacques leaving and obviously holes to be fixed. You've since then had a lot of confident buying in the company. So do you know that people that you've been dealing with are buying, or is that just the general market?
Great question. Okay, first of all, I wish Jacques all the best because I have nothing against him. I wanted to clarify that.
Sure.
You know, we've run a company where every email, I have a great team. I just want to say something, Chris. It's not just me at all. I don't take recognition for it. I have we built up a tremendous team, and it's all done in team effort for the best of the shareholders. And I want, from the bottom of my heart, we've tried everything to enhance shareholder value and be as transparent as possible. Okay, there's no bull going on here. And this has been reflected in our shareholders' enthusiasm and trustworthiness. And I really believe that we have a tremendous, as I keep on saying, we have a good Canadian following, but the tremendous European following is there, and they believe in what we're doing. And we've never misled our investors. So sometimes you have to get the good, the bad, and the ugly, but that's showing the investors' confidence.
Junior mining, there's generally a lot of ugly. So, you know, I'll say that you've been on this track for quite a while. You've clearly built some shareholder value, even though there's been some years where the market didn't care. You know, Tesla's antics towards Battery Day have reignited the sector, but also, I guess, applied a bit of a lens to the fact that you guys are one of the few in the sector. There aren't a whole lot of manganese plays out there, even though it's going to be something that's going to be really important going forward.
I just want to say a couple of interesting things going back in history with a big smile on my face. We went through 7, 8 engineering companies.
Really?
Because nobody understands what a manganese carbonate, rhodysrite carbonate.
Right.
They're all used to the oxides, okay? So we come out here in New Brunswick and try to find the right engineering company to help us with the metallurgical, okay? And that was like $200,000-$300,000 later. We found somebody that was really compatible with our company. I'm not saying the other engineers weren't, but we needed a compatible company that understood where we were going and what we were trying to do. And we found something called MnSO4, manganese sulfate. And that's a precursor to the cathode, you know. And from there you can build into EMM, EMD, and all that stuff. But that's the basics, okay?
Right.
And it's been a long haul, let me tell you. We're working with Chemical Research now out of Vancouver, who we're really, really working very well with. And they've done some really interesting things in manganese, and I'm very pleased with them.
You know, in order for you to get to the place where a Tesla might be, you know, taking your end product, how much money, how much time, how much good luck do you need to get to that place?
Interesting question. The first thing we have to do is the PEA. You know, okay, here's how it goes. And here's what we decided. We did a lot of drilling, like we spent $1.5–2 million on the drill programs, okay, with all the meters and all that stuff.
Yep.
But unless you got the metallurgical, it's not worth anything. So we've been focusing on the last year, 18 months on the metallurgical, because without the economic purification process, we're going nowhere. So right now, hopefully we should be finished with our metallurgical and the flow sheet and everything in next month and commence our drill program. And then it's all going to reflect on the PEA, okay? And that's where we're going to go. And then from the PEA, we'll go on to do another study to confirm everything, you know,
right.
An economic study. So that's where we are now.
So if everything's going well for you over the next couple of months, like what can investors look forward to in terms of news that would indicate that you're like really banging it home there?
Okay, first of all, I want to finish off our drill program and finish off the MET. If we can get the MET going, the metallurgical, and have it flow sheet economically, that's a major step, okay? That's a major step. But we also have a US patent, which is very undervalued and underestimated right now. We have a US disbursement patent for air purification. And behind the scenes, we've been working intensively on that. And it's very underrated and undervalued. And we are really working very intensely on that, which I cannot say, with an American company right now. And it looks extremely promising.
Okay. With your upcoming drill program, will you be able to establish a 43101 compliant resource?
Yes, here's what we're going. We're going from inferred to indicated. Okay, we're going to do 43101, and again, the metallurgical is going to be combined in. We're following the metallurgical we did one in summer of the 43101, and we're following all the steps. Okay,
great. Do you expect what are your expectations for Battery Hill? Like, what is the goal in terms of size and grade?
Great point, okay. So Battery Hill, we're going to be concentrating in one area of the property right now, and we want to produce, right now we're looking on the drill program to enhance our purity of the manganese right now, what percentage of it is, and we want to enhance the distance of it. We want to enhance the tons of it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. That's where we want to go. We want to enhance the tons and enhance our percentage of manganese, okay? That's part of that program. I'm sorry to explain that.
No problem at all. So, Battery Day.
Okay, here's the story, because our sweet spot is Moody Hill. I forgot talking to you. I'm tired because I haven't slept in a long time. I forgot Moody Hill, okay? Uh-huh. So we have three areas, and Moody Hill is the one that's Shark, Moody Hill, and Iron Hill, okay? And Moody's our sweet spot. We're looking approximately at 10 million tons there, okay? And that's the best carbonate, manganese carbonate there, where we can really leach it really efficiently and not use too much sulfuric acid. It's the best. But we're not discounting the other areas, okay? But that's going to be our sweet spot. And we're looking to do 20,000 tons a year to start with, you know? So that's what our plans are. And we're also going to do something very interesting. We're going to go into a modular, we're going to have to do a pilot project. But there's something now, most gold mines and other big mining companies are going into modular. That's the new thing. Instead of having to spend so much money opening up a mine, we're going to take a little section, a small section called modular, and build upon that. That's how it's going to go. So that's where our plans are, but it all comes down to the economic assessment, you know.
So the idea is instead of having to raise many hundreds of millions of dollars to get a massive dig, you're just pulling enough out of the ground to start making revenue and build out from there.
Let's get the PEA under control, okay?
Yeah.
Let's see if it's feasible, then we'll go into the economic assessment, and then we'll rock and roll with that. And then probably, if it's all good, somebody else is going to come in, because don't forget, there's a lot of Canadian right now. We've been talking with some Canadian lithium-ion battery companies that are going into it now, and they want Canadian manganese, okay? They want Canadian manganese. Matter of fact, we had many discussions in the University of Montreal, okay? And they're very interested in our manganese because it's a carbonate, it's not an oxide. The carbonate is much stronger for the cathodes. It's less purity. It's a lot less purity than an oxide, but it's much stronger. It gives you a lot better robustness on the cathode. Another point is something is very interesting is that, you know, with the oxides, with all the oxides that are the majority of all the manganese, you have to roast the oxides, okay? And then turn it into an oxide and then into a sulfate. But ours goes from carbonate right to sulfate, which is a major advantage of processing. That I'm learning, because I'm not at all, I am far from a geologist or anything. It's been a long learning process. So everything I'm dictating right now is from hard work and learning, nothing else, not more.
Which leads me to what my next question is that, you know, when we're dealing with gold, people understand it. When we're dealing with lithium, people kind of understand it. When we're dealing with manganese, you know, a lot of people out there, even that have experience in the mining game, have really no idea what a good manganese draw result looks like. Is there an education component that you are going to have to do going forward that's going to make manganese, a good manganese and bad manganese, like something that people readily recognize?
Well said, Chris. We're now working to start educating the public more on manganese. And when we're going into very big virtue of manganese, as far as I'm concerned, you know, there was a big article recently why Tesla is going to manganese, okay? Because it said that they can get another 15% longer distance on their battery. The density is like 15 times higher than cobalt and all this. And also the price of manganese compared to cobalt. Cobalt is like $36,000 a ton right now. Manganese is like $2,000 a ton. The virtues of manganese right now for its robustness, I've read so many articles, you know, about it. So it's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting why manganese has come to the forefront, you know.
Yeah, besides even the fact that in order to get a ton of cobalt, you've got to send about 400 kids down with bare hands and sticks into holes in the ground to pull it out and, you know, maybe die. So, you know, we obviously can't be doing that. The cobalt market in Canada was for a second there looking pretty hot, but I think the reality of the future is you just can't build an industry on the back of, you know, indentured servitude and kids.
Yes, exactly, and especially in the Congo with the political situation also and all this stuff. And there was a big write-up. There was a big article written last week about this, about us also saying that's why manganese is really going to become to the forefront. You know?
Right. So Battery Day, like Elon Musk, if nothing else, he knows how to build up to something, even if that something is a little disappointing when it comes to the end. What were your thoughts on his Battery Day announcements? Did they help you at all, or did they really?
I loved it for one reason, with great enthusiasm here, is because they're going into a battery that has 33% manganese, 66% nickel, and that doesn't do anything for us, nothing does.
I think a lot of the promoters out there on the message boards were all like, Tesla's going to do a deal with a company, Tesla's going to buy somebody. Tesla, in the end of it all, Tesla hasn't bought anybody that I can remember in years, even though hundreds of companies have hinted that, we're going to do business with Tesla. I don't recall anyone actually sealing the deal. So really it comes back to who's just going to produce in the shortest time the best product for the cheapest amount, and everyone will be a customer, not just Tesla.
Well, I just keep on saying, I'll just refer to something to you, okay? If you notice that the Quebec government, and we're located, our head office is in Montreal, that's where I'm from. I don't know if you're aware of it, like they just put in an initiative last week where they put in, I think, $10 billion into an initiative where they want to manufacture lithium-ion batteries, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's a fact. And they, of course, will want to purchase manganese, most likely from a Quebec province. But if we're the only game in town, we've already been approached by a couple other people in Canada that's trying to produce some batteries. They want the Canadian manganese factor involved, and even in the States with the ORAC, they want to produce North American minerals, and manganese is one of the 6 critical elements that the U.S. have singled out the ORAC as being really critical. So what I'm saying is we're at the right spot at the right time, and there are companies now progressing, believe it or not, they want to get into the lithium-ion battery space in North America, and we're situated perfectly for this milieu. So whether it's Tesla or not, and I still think in my deep down of heart, to go 99.95% purity is very difficult to achieve, and that really falls right into the milieu of their battery.
So
Midterm battery.
Tesla sort of makes the hairs stand up in the back of an investor's neck, but when it comes to the demand for rechargeable batteries, there are a lot more players out there than Tesla, a lot bigger players than Tesla.
That's what I'm saying. And we do have an NDA with one of the biggest cathode manufacturers in the world right now, in Europe, and they're very interested in working with us to perfect our MN.V. And that's, I can't mention who because of course we have a confidentiality act.
Sure.
But it's definitely we have it. We've had an NDA for the last 2 years or so we're getting closer. There's a lot of interest and people want to help us to get this going because it's going to help the world.
You mentioned you're the only game in town. If you can stand this thing up and get to a place where it's close to, even if not producing, I imagine that you become a real takeover target because no one wants to buy on the open market if they can secure the supply.
Well, put it this way, we put the blood, sweat, and tears in already.
Yeah.
I don't know how far away we are, but we're closer now than we've ever been before, and it would be very good for the Canadian government and everybody else to be able to get a producer of MN.V in Canada. It would be really a feather in our caps to help because they don't want to be reliable on all the imports, from China, Gabon, everywhere else. And who knows what's going to go on with China with their imports and the, holding back and doing this and doing that. So we're just hoping that we just want to continue and get that end product economically feasible. And then we'll let the cards fall. I'm not really looking at the present moment for anything spectacular. Let's get that product. Let's make it economical, and people will come. What did they say? Build a ballpark and they'll play, or something like that. I mean, my quotes. That's the way for it.
So, when your stock goes from 8 cents to $1.40, in the back of your mind, just quietly between you and you, do you start thinking about what your boat's going to look like?
No. Can I just tell you something? I want to say something very interesting, okay?
Yeah.
I've been working as a consultant for 40 years, okay? Money has been always second. I know you're going to say I'm bull, but this is the truth. My salary and our burn rate are very, very low. I started off very low salary. My salary is still low. I don't believe in taking the money out of the company. I believe in leaving it there, and I believe that if you're not money orientated, the money will come. If you're very if you're, you want to go after the money and not care about the investors, that's when you get hit. So look, I'm 70, in my 70s. I'm still working. I'm happy. I want to tell you something. I drive a 2011 Toyota Corolla. That's what I drive. Yeah, and I love it. And I live a very nice life. I live out in the country here, and I'm happy. Money is secondary to me, and especially with all the people around us, it's helpful, but it's not the end all to be all. So,
well, you know what? I would say that if what you just said wasn't true, you'd have been selling with Jacques. So I can say that you're still in there with the retail investors, and that's a strong sign. I know that looking at a lot of the stock message boards, usually what you'd see is torches and pitchforks when that sort of scenario is happening. What we got with Manganese X instead was a lot of people saying, okay, well, look, the CEO hasn't sold. The CEO needs to come clean with what's happened, and then we can build a resource. It's a very interesting group of people that are actually invested in your project. They're not the traditional sort of in and out day trader types. There's a lot of guys that have been there for a long time and that believe in the sector as much as anything else. And a credit where it's due. When we called you up and said, hey, there's some questions for you to answer here on the hard side, you scheduled the interview straight away. So I wanted to give you credit for that. When we do business with a client, you can attest that we come in and say, like, if things don't go the way they're supposed to go, that we're going to be the ones to talk about it. And you've always been good with that. And I think that this interview, as much as there's been some hard questions, I think it's answered pretty much all those questions and gives you the space that you need now to build up and get to that PEA and see what we can do.
I just want to say two things, okay? That I've always believed as a management consultant that working as a team and surrounding yourself with good people is the key. It's not just one person, okay? And I want to tell you something, we've had so many trials and tribulations you would never believe, okay? And as I told you before, I would get emails at 4 o'clock in the morning from Germany, and they weren't the kindest, okay?
Yep.
On the phone. And our group of people, just not me, it's very important. We're able to overcome and work as a team to show the investors that we're, transparent and doing the best we can. Sometimes we try to do things that didn't work out, but we're always fighting on a daily basis. You know what, Chris? Seriously, we work 7 days a week, okay? I'm so tired now, it's amazing, but it's always, you can't stop. You're getting these emails, we're working, we're creating ideas, we're trying to build a company that the investors will, make money on and be very proud of the company. That's where we are, so it's not just one person, and again, that's where we've been at.
Yeah, you're going to have your bumps, you're going to have disappointments, but you're still in there swinging. I appreciate that about you. Martin, I'm going to let you get back to your very busy day, and let's get to that PEA and touch base again.
Okay, great. Nice talking to you. Nice meeting you, Chris.
And you.
Let's hope next time we talk, our stuff not going to be much higher.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, man.
Okay.